Hello, everyone, and welcome to Diversity Be Like, a podcast that explores the nuanced dynamics of diversity and what true inclusion, equity, and respect looks like. Each week, we interview industry leaders and subject matter experts in the space and get their take on why all of this is so important. I'm your host, Sequoia Houston. Today, we will be talking to my dear friend and sister from another mister, Nicole J. Butler. Hey, girl. Nicole is a working actress, even in the midst of a pandemic. And while you can't see her now on this audio podcast, you have definitely seen her on your TV screen. She has been on hit shows like Grey's Anatomy, Heart of Dixie, Jane the Virgin, Jimmy Kimmel Live, just to name a few. And you'll also recognize her as she shed Cheryl from the State Farm commercials. Most recently, she's been working on her self-produced award-winning web series, Sister President. And without further ado, welcome, Nicole.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I am super excited about having you here. I'm super excited about talking to you about diversity in the industry, what you've done to tackle it. I know we've had a lot of these conversations offline, so I'm thrilled to have an opportunity to share with the people the things that we're doing, and hopefully somebody will leave inspired and know that they can go and do different things as well. So thank you for coming and having that time with us. So I guess we can start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience as an actress in Hollywood and as a Black actress in Hollywood.
Well, I started in theater, moved to LA, got sidetracked multiple times. And then I buckled down in 2015 and said, it's now or never. And I launched my acting career, and I've been working ever since I got serious. We've talked about this and how I feel like the universe waits for you. The universe or God or whatever you believe in waits for you to get your act together and says, okay, I've been waiting to give this to you.
Yes. And I will say that she's told me that many, many times, because we've had conversations about that where I've said, oh, I'm so frustrated things aren't happening. She was like, well, you doing this, that, and the other, and you doing this other thing, and you got this job over here. You got these other 3 jobs over there. When are you going to have time to do it? So when she means what she's saying.
Yeah, that was just my way. Once I got serious, things started to happen. And I followed the Sam Jackson's school of acting, where I just work, just keep working and keep working. And I don't really trip about, oh my God, well, this is just a co-star role. Work begets work. And I've gotten big jobs because I've done little jobs. So I've been working steadily in commercials and television shows, and most recently doing voiceover work. Yeah, so my career is still growing, even during a pandemic.
So you are now working on Sister President, which is a really, really fun web series. You've done the one that we worked on together called Shooting the, you know what. And both of those kind of feel like artivism. So tell me a little bit about those and why those were important. And I also want to know, with Sister President, why was it important to you to tell this story?
Well, both of them started in a similar way. Can I say the name of that other show?
Yeah. I was joking. You can say it. It's fine.
All right. I want you calling me a heathen.
I don't want the FCC shutting me down. No, I think you're good.
So Shooting the Shit and Sister President started off in a similar way, just based on conversations that I had with friends, things that I thought and felt were important, and the need to express those things. And much like with Shooting the Shit, where I said, hey, I wrote this thing. Can I send it to you? You want to do this? That's basically what I did. I gathered a few friends and said, hey, I got this idea, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be, and it has turned into a script of some sort. Can we read it? And then I said, okay, now that you've read it, any feedback, and would you like to participate? And they're like, yes, like this really resonated with people. And then we were off and running. I just didn't want this to be one more thing that I wrote that lived in a binder, because I have binders full of things. I really didn't know how to produce on the scale. This is the largest thing that I've done. We had an actual budget.
And you're talking about Sister President now, right?
President, yeah. Because remember when we shot Shooting the Shit, I think that was 2017. I
It
believe,
doesn't feel like it's been that long, but yes, it was 2017.
Yes, yes.
Of course, 2020 has been 7 years long, so.
We shot on iPod. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I was like, well, I don't have any cameras. And if I had one, I wouldn't know how to use it. So let's just use what I have. And we shot on iPods. But with Sister President, we had like equipment and people to work the equipment and all these things. So a lot of it I was learning on the fly, but I felt like it was important. And then when other people validated that, people whose opinions I trusted said, yeah, I think we need to get this out there. I was like, okay. And once they say, okay, then it's like, oh, wow, I guess I'm really doing this now. It's a moment of fear, but you just got to push through it. Yeah, so we produced 7 episodes of Sister President.
So tell us, what is Sister President? What's that story?
Sister President is about 2 sisters who find themselves at the helm of the White House. And if they fail, they're going to end up in prison. That's what it is. They participated in a town hall where they have an incumbent president that's much like the one that we have outgoing right now, thankfully. And they criticize him. And he's thin-skinned. He can't handle it. So
that sounds familiar.
Right. His name was actually Ronald Crump at first. I was told that's too on the nose. I was like, okay, let me change it. And he challenges them. Do you think you can do a better job than I can? All right, well, let's see you do it. Run the country. And if your approval rating isn't higher than mine at the end of 3 months, you go to prison for the duration of my term. And they meet the challenge, even though they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
They're willing.
Are there any other stories? Because I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I can't think of any really that show a female a woman as president, but definitely none that show a Black woman as president.
I don't think I've ever seen one with a Black woman as president. I think, was it Glenn Close? I didn't see the show. I meant to watch it and I didn't get around to it. I think she played in a presidential role like in the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But definitely nothing with a Black woman as president.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. So audience out there, if there is something that you've seen that has that, please let us know. Please hit us up on social media at Diversity Be Like across all the social media platforms. But I hadn't seen anything like that. And I think that would probably be one of the biggest draws to the friends and trusted people that you sent it to, because it's such an interesting story, right?
Yeah. And it tackles a lot of issues. You get politics in there, but it's not all political. It's about the relationship between the sisters. It's about being in a situation where you're carrying a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility, but you really know what you're doing and you're just trying to do your best.
Right.
Yeah. So, and there's mental health issues addressed in there, social class issues, because sisters didn't grow up together and so they're different. I just wanted to put in a lot of things that I see around me and some things that I've lived.
Absolutely. And I love that you touch on so many different points and you look at, this is a podcast about diversity, but that's the person that is at the intersection of all of these different spaces and trying to navigate them effectively.
Yeah.
Why was it important to you to show that?
Because a lot of times I see Black characters portrayed as the sidekick, or they don't get to be messy. Life is messy. Like like people who look like they have it together the most usually have the messiest lives, but we don't get to be that way unless we're crack addicts. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
right.
Like, oh, we got another crack addict. Oh, we got the same old tropes over and over again. And with these sisters, by them being different personality-wise, their formative years were spent in different environments. And then they just we all got our own stuff going on just as individuals. Even if they were twins, they'd have their own thing going on. I wanted them to have the freedom to be messy and be figuring it out as they go and not have all the answers and also not be crackheads.
Right.
I wanted them to have that freedom to just live and explore as we all should have.
I
Mhm.
think one of the things that I hear a lot when I talk about diversity, whether it be from a standpoint of acting and the projects that come out, the things that I want to be in, the types of roles that I want to play, whether it be in the work that I do with Mocha Stock or just other things where diversity comes up, some of what you hear is this ideal of entitlement and people feeling like people of color just have an entitlement and we just want to be given something without having the chops to get there. And that if we were really good enough, then we just rise to the top. So we shouldn't just focus on being entitled. What do you say to that?
Yes. First of all, to put it mildly, when people talk like that, I really can't engage with them further because it shows me that they're uninterested in seeing the reality of how Black people are treated in this country, like a permanent second class citizenship, if second,
Mm-hmm. Right.
not even second, I don't know. But yeah, when people come with that, I already know what they're on and what time it is, and we need not even discuss it any further. I've forgotten. I forgot what else. There was something else in there.
But yeah, people talking about entitlement and why people are good enough, they'll just rise to the top.
Here's the thing. We have to be careful and be mindful of how we measure certain qualifications or qualities. And if you're using the yardstick that works best for you, then of course you're going to be, oh, I measure up. But that might not work for me.
Yeah.
So, like, let me measure you by my yardstick and see how you do.
Right, right.
It's inherently not fair. And nobody ever promised anybody fair. I know everybody says life isn't fair, and life isn't. But shouldn't we as a society try to be fair? And the people who fight the most against that are the ones who benefit from it.
Exactly. I think you remember this, but I had an agent a few years ago who she got on Facebook and she said that she was tired of all of these diversity programs because they were taking away from her blonde actors and that she didn't see race and that all of these different things. And it spiraled into a big thing and even went, she and I had some conversations via email where she was, I'm not racist and I'm quarter Cherokee and my husband is this and my best friend is that.
And I like fried chicken too.
Right. Right. And it's so interesting to me that people don't understand that nobody is asking for a handout. I don't even know if we can really say we're asking for a hand up because I don't think we're asking for that either. I think we're just asking for things to be a little bit more fair. And I love what you're doing in self-producing because you're taking the ownership of your particular career by saying, you know what, y'all aren't going to do it. So here, I'm going to do it. I mean, I love that. I think that's so great. And I've seen that across a number of projects that you've done that live outside of the binder. So
thank you for that. Thank you. I've been having a conversation with another friend of mine who has produced some things, but he really wants Hollywood to take notice of one of his scripts or ideas and run with it. Because then once Hollywood, I mean, even though we are Hollywood, but once the big machine gets behind you, then you have all the resources and you can do a bigger project. We were recently having this conversation. So what happens if Hollywood never, ever pays any attention to anything that you've written or any idea that you have? Then do your characters not get to live? Does your work not get to reach somebody who really needs to hear it because you're waiting on Hollywood? I just left him with that. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but that's how I feel.
But it's true. And you never know. I did a film in 2011 and I still to this day get people that will like the Facebook page, which is so random because I don't promote it. I don't share it. I don't do anything, but people like it. I'll get a random comment on Vimeo about how cool it is and how they really liked it and what's next and all of that stuff. And it's like you said, you just never know what these characters are going to do and how their lives are going to impact others. So it's so important.
Yeah.
talking a little bit about that work and where these characters live, I think one of the most fun characters that I've seen recently is the little girl from Jingle Jangle. Did you watch that?
Not yet. Somebody told
Oh my gosh. Oh my
I will
gosh.
watch
Oh, you need to watch it.
it. It didn't sound like it was gonna be up my alley, but somebody was like, "You have to watch. It is so good." So I'm gonna watch.
I mean, I love musicals, so it was completely up my alley. But I think for people who like my stepdad watched it, he's not a big musical person, but he still really enjoyed it too. But the thing that I liked about it is I felt like it took me back to the moment when I watched The Little Mermaid and I saw her singing and like being what I felt was awesome at the time. And that was at that moment where I realized I wanted to act and sing and do all of those things. And I felt like so many little girls were going to have that moment, and they were going to have that moment with a girl that looked just like them. And so that was so cool. And then you see now different pictures of like David Talbert will post things about little girls who are wearing their hair like her and all of these things. And it just shows you why representation is so important.
Yeah. We all deserve to see ourselves.
I agree. So now that you've kind of stepped into this space of highlighting some of the things that aren't necessarily inclusive and making a point to make work that is more inclusive, make work that is more diverse, and just take that up as your mantle. How does that feel? And what do you feel like an advocate of that? Or do you feel like you're just doing work you want to do?
I feel like I'm doing work that I want to do. I'm doing what interests me and being an advocate. And I think it's part of me being a big sister, with a whole bunch of little siblings. Well, they're not little anymore, but I think that's just part of who I am, a creative whose natural set place is to instruct, to inform, to help however I can in a way that's creative. But I don't want it to start feeling like, well, now I have to be the activist or whatever. I have to do this because then that's extra layer of pressure that I don't want or need.
Gotcha. Do you consider yourself an activist?
Unintentionally.
Okay.
I mean, I just think in that way, like I'll see certain things and then the friends like yourself, friends that I gravitate to are people with something to say, with an opinion and like-minded souls.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the activism comes out of that, but I'm not running around telling people I'm an activist.
Right.
It's not necessary for me.
Gotcha. Okay. So in terms of our industry, right, I think that for us to have in terms of life in general, in terms for us to have true respect for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we go on this journey. And I talk about this, I've started talking about this a lot. And I feel like the journey starts at bias, and then we move into tolerance, we move on to understanding, and we go to acceptance, and then finally to celebration, right? And I don't know that that's a linear journey. It might not be a linear journey, but I feel like that's a journey that we have to take. So if you were to look at where the entertainment industry is right now today, where would you say we are on that journey?
Okay, you're going to have to name those again.
So bias to tolerance, on to understanding, on to acceptance. And this.
You can stop. We are not far along. I think we are right at the edge of tolerance. I don't think we've even gotten to tolerance yet, because just based on what you just mentioned about that agent that was like, hey, now my blonde actors and actresses aren't working. Well, like, were you mad when Black people weren't working? Were you mad when you're diverse, you're non-blonde or non-white, which is what it is.
Right.
People on your roster weren't working. Why are you mad now?
And that's the thing that I don't think people understand, is that it's so much more than, oh, I'm Black and I just feel like I need to be there because I'm Black, or we should be diverse because it's the right thing to do. There are true ramifications of bias, right? There are people who, for me, with her, just say I was acting full time and I was doing that for my living and that's how I made my money, and I had a family that I had to support doing that, right? can I be sure that she's sending me out on everything I'm right for? If that's her true feeling, I can't be sure of that. And then what's the alternative? Do I go to a Black agent? But then a lot of Black agents don't have the relationships and the pull because of the bias, right? So I don't think people understand that level of how it sneaks in and the impact that it truly has on people throughout the whole chain of the entertainment career, you know?
Yeah, they don't understand because they haven't had to. They haven't had to care about it at all, by and large. You get some people, I'm not going to name any names, but there's some, some people that you're like, oh, okay, this person gets it, really gets it. But for the most part, it's like, no, I'm just looking out for me, and I'm sorry this is happening to you, but next.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think another thing that we've had conversations about was the idea of hair on set and dressers on set. And tell us a little bit about your experience with hairdressers on set.
It's been the good, the bad, and the downright ugly hair and makeup, honestly. I work in wigs now, unless it's a role where they want my hair pulled. Well, I don't have any hair now. I cut most of my hair off.
What?
All I have is bangs. Didn't you see that?
No, did I?
I
might have. I just didn't remember. Maybe I don't remember. Girl, I slept a couple times since then.
All I got is bangs now. But I work in wigs anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. And I started working in wigs because I didn't like what they would do to my hair on set. Like, it was like they didn't care. One time somebody put metal clamps that I think are used to like clamp paper. They're not plastic, metal with teeth.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know that was what they had done until I got home. And I was like, what is this? And I'm pulling these. I'm like, these don't belong in hair. And I don't think they would put that in white people's hair. I really don't see that happening. I've had all kinds of things done, products used. A lot of times they don't know what they're doing and they don't really care that much. And inappropriate hairstyles for an adult because, oh, let's do this, do some little kiddie style. I'm like, isn't this character a grown woman? Like, why you got my hair in like a poof on top of, what is this? Yeah, I got sick of all that. And so I started working in wigs, and now I'm working in human hair wigs. When I go to set, like I'll audition, they can't see it on the, but I had an audition earlier, so I have a synthetic on. But when I go to set, I wear a human hair wig now because they're going to want to fluff it up. Even if it looks perfect, they're going to want to do something to it to feel like they're participating.
They've done something.
Yeah, and once you do that to a synthetic hair wig, it's trashed.
But again, when we talk about the impact, right? The impact of diversity, the impact of bias, when you don't have people along the whole chain in this industry, you don't have stylists of color there, right? They don't know how to do their work. And other stylists don't have to know how to do it because it's so then it becomes a situation where you're a working actress. This is what you do for a living, right? But you have an added expense to your career. And even that's not fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an added expense. It's extra time. It's mental energy thinking about, okay, my hair, what am I going to do with my hair instead of just showing up?
Yeah.
Like, non-Black people do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with makeup. I make sure I take makeup because there have been many times when the makeup artist didn't know how to mix my shade, didn't have my shade, didn't have something, had some ashy looking blush she was trying to put on me. I never know what's going to happen. One time somebody, I don't know if I told you this story. I'm going to have to tell you part of it offline, but I was working and the makeup artist was doing my makeup and I noticed that she had made my face look really, really dark. I mean, I don't know if she had her all-purpose Black people makeup or what. She just put it on everybody, but like it was like just maybe 2 shades lighter than black on my face. And I didn't know if she was doing some kind of special effect or what. So called herself done. I said, "Is this okay to you?" And she said, "What is it? You didn't think it's dark?" And I'm thinking, okay, you went right to it. So obviously, there's a problem. So, well, I have my own foundation. Oh, sure. If you feel more comfortable using that, we'll use that. And I was thinking that ain't even the issue, but I don't want to go there. I'm just trying to get on camera and do but sometimes they don't know, they don't care, they get attitudes with you. It's frustrating. Some sets, like I just worked on a Disney show recently. I was so excited. I went in there, I had my wig on already. She didn't have to do much, but I was like, oh my God, they got a Black hairstylist. She said, yes, they're really good now about when they have a Black actress, they make sure they have a Black hairstylist.
So things are changing.
There. Yeah. I hope that they that trickles down throughout the whole industry, but at least they're doing right.
That's exciting to hear. What are some things, though, like that you've seen that have changed over time? And we can even look at from Oscars So White until now. What are some things that you've seen that you think, okay, that's different, or that just feel better?
I am seeing more diverse characters, which I like. I'm seeing, when I first started in the industry, ethnic ambiguity was big. They just wanted actors and actresses who you couldn't tell where they were from. And it was like, okay, well, for those of us who look like what we are,
right.
Where do we fit? That was their way then of supposedly solving a diversity issue, but it really wasn't inclusive. And I'm not seeing that as much. And that's not saying that people who are ethnically ambiguous shouldn't be working. I'm not saying that at all, but they should not be
the default.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The sole representation of what it means to be diverse.
When I had a conversation on Clubhouse, and we were talking about the idea that casting does seem like it's more diverse now, right? You can see that. But what I find is that even though the casting is diverse, the stories aren't. So I was looking at, I don't know if I'm not going to say the name of the channel, but I was looking at my channel that I watch my Christmas movies on, which everybody knows, right? And they had more diverse characters this year, which I was excited about. But there were still all of these Black people that were randomly in these white stories, in these white spaces that it felt inauthentic. And not saying that, again, to use your line from earlier, I'm not saying they need to be in there frying chicken or something, but I think there are nuanced differences that can happen. And it's so interesting to me that that piece isn't being considered.
There's still an idea that only white people's stories can be universal, that anything else is, oh, well, that's ethnic. Well, you ethnic too. White people are ethnic.
Right.
Y'all like, why are you the default ethnicity?
Right. And it's funny that you say that. It reminds me of what we talked about on Shooting the Shit, that episode where we're talking about the writing and how if it's a Black character, it has to be all of that. Like, and I've had, right. And I've had these conversations again with people about how you can have two white characters and they're walking and they see a hot dog stand and they both meet at the hot dog stand, they lock eyes, they fall in love, and that's the story. And that's the whole movie. You know what I mean? Whereas us, we have to be walking and then you get a call from your crackhead brother who's talking about your mother is dying of diabetes in the hospital right now. And then the guy who's walking towards you, he got COVID. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it can't ever just be simple. And it's like you have these, it can't be simple, but it also can't be messy. So it's like you have these stories that they don't feel natural or authentic. And I think that's why you have certain things like Atlanta and like Insecure that really resonated with people because they, for the first time in a really long time, saw characters that they could relate to. And even those aren't relatable across the board because there are people who live different lives. There are people who relate more to girlfriends and those things. And
all shows that feature, I'm just going to talk about Black people because that's who I know best. All shows that feature a majority Black cast and talk about things that we tend to understand culturally as Black people are not going to resonate with everybody because we have different lives. Just like when you got a show with a majority white cast, you know, all white people are not going to like it. Like,
exactly.
Why? I don't have to like everything that got all Black people in. I do not.
Right.
You know?
But if you don't, and then that's another thing that I find is interesting about having conversations with Black people about Black content is that you almost feel like you have to like it, whether you don't or not, because if you complain, you're going to get flack from Black people from complaining. And it's this idea that, oh, we can't complain and we can't complain publicly because if we do, they're not going to make another one.
Yeah. I am careful about complaining publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel like, just for me, it would feel irresponsible of me to knock somebody else's hustle when as long as they're not doing anything damaging. If it's some garbage, I'm gonna say this is some garbage. This never should have been made. But like if it's just that's not really my cup of tea, but go do your thing, then I respect the work and I respect the work that went into it. But it just isn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad that we have to get to that place, though. I respect that part of it, but it's sad that we have to get to that place where we feel a collective ownership over stuff that has nothing to do with us in a way that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Or I can't say nobody else, because I'm sure if people didn't like Fresh Off the Boat, they wasn't saying that either. You know what I mean? They were just like, let's just
That's true.
Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah. Let's just go sit down. Let's just be glad they have somebody on TV.
Yeah. It's like when you hear about a horrible crime being committed, like that Nashville bombing, it's like, please don't let them be Black. Because even though I don't know them people, I don't know anybody in Nashville, I got nothing to do with it. You know that the weight of that is somehow going to end up showing up in your life or in the lives of people that you like and love.
Completely
it's weight you shouldn't have to carry, but here we are.
And we've had many, many conversations about that before.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's one myth that you'd like to debunk about as it relates to diversity? And it could be the one that you just mentioned, like that we don't all carry the weight. But if you could debunk any myth about diversity, whether it be in the industry or just in your personal life, what's one myth that you'd like to debunk?
One major myth that I hate, whenever it rears its head, I just want to scream, is that the choice is between choosing someone qualified or choosing someone non-white. You know?
Yes.
That takes the hell out of me, you know? Like, well, we just choose the best people for the jobs, really. And you didn't know not one non-white person qualified. Then you need to move in better circles.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and that happens across so many industries, because it's just like, I can't remember who it was, but somebody came under flack recently, one of the CEOs of a big company, for saying that we want Black people or we want people of color. They just don't have the skill set to do the jobs that we need. Right. And it's like, really? Like, where have you looked?
Yeah. Who did you ask?
Right.
Other white who don't know any people of color.
Right. Right. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I would probably also say the fact that we have to be so perfect in every instance. That, to me, is a huge weight that we carry across every aspect of our life. And it's stressful. And it leads to different health conditions. I was looking up something the other day. It was called weathering. And it's a form of stress. And I'm still researching it. But it's just the idea of the long-term impact of stress over time and how it weathers your body. It ages you. It makes you, and age, not even just how you physically look, but how your body is and how susceptible you are to diseases and things like that, and hypertension and all of those things. And you think about the fact that a lot of the worst diseases, and some that are many of them that are preventable, are in our community, right? But if you think about the things that we're weathering, the stress that is persistent anytime you leave your house, and that's not an exaggeration at all.
Leave your house. You don't have to leave your house now. You
right.
House. Yeah.
Yeah. It has a strong impact on people. And so I think I would love for us to not have to be perfect, for us to just be able to be human and that be okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about Sister President. I think it's interesting that that story is coming out in a time where we have our first sister vice president. And it's funny because who would have known, right? But how does that make you feel, like knowing that you have a story that is actually, it could come true?
It's great. It's really good. And because I started writing this I started writing this in 2017 and not knowing what it was going to be or where it was going to go. And a lot of this stuff, I should tell you this right before. Okay, so we launched it, made it available to the public on July 1st of this year, 2020. And in June, I believe it was in June, everybody thought Kim Jong-un was dead, like, because nobody had seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, can we hurry up and finish editing, please? Because, like, I don't want, like, it's about some current events, and I don't want it to not be relevant or to be in poor taste.
Yeah.
If this man is dead, I can't leave in like the episode where the whole joke is about Kim Jong-un.
Right.
So watching the news, not only for my own life, but for this project, as we were editing and going, oh my God, like, one thing could change with current events, and then it makes no sense to put this out after we've done all this work.
Right.
It was a little nerve-wracking.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? I love the fact that you were so mindful, right, about the things that were going on around you, because I don't think that always happens. So I think if somebody could take something away, please be mindful of things that are happening. Please use emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Because you don't want to, not with Kim Jong-un, but anything, you don't want to hurt people unnecessarily. You just don't want to do things that are in poor taste or at the wrong time that'll make people's lives harder or whatever. Just, be mindful. It's the best way to put it. Yeah.
So when you think of Sister President, or when people think of Sister President, what would you want the lasting legacy of that to be? And I know that's hard because we've only seen season 1 so far. But what would you like the lasting legacy of it to be?
That we aren't powerless. We are not powerless. Sometimes we just have to show up and figure it out, and figuring it out is an imperfect process because we are imperfect beings. But as long as we show up and we do our best, that's us living truth to power.
I love it. Now, everybody hates this question, but I'm going to ask it.
All right, you can get all in my business now. What?
When people think of Nicole J. Butler, what do you want your lasting legacy to be?
This is something that I've been asking myself lately, and this is kind of morbid because coronavirus, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. Maybe I won't make it through this. And what do I want to leave the world and the people who know me with? I haven't figured it out yet, but I would love for the people who know me feel like I added something good in their lives. Everybody needs something different. And I try to meet people where they are. Yeah, a positive difference in their life that they can take on and pay it forward. That's what I would like to leave.
So what I will say is that I met you before I even moved to Los Angeles. And you have been one of the most consistent people in my life before Los Angeles, during my time in Los Angeles, and even now that I'm no longer in Los Angeles. You are, when I say sister from another mister, I'm an only child. So when I call someone my sister, I mean it from a very strong place. Like, I don't use that term loosely. Mm-hmm. So when I say that, I truly mean it, because you have been such an amazing addition to my life. And so when you say that's the legacy you want, I can tell you that is absolutely what you do. You have made my life is better because of you. So thank you.
Don't make me cry. Thank you. I feel the same way about you. And I'm really glad to have you in my life.
Thank you.
I wish you were here.
I do too. Once the world stops being on fire and we get off punishment, I will definitely come back for a bit.
2022.
Man. So, final thoughts. If you could step into my shoes, what's one question you would have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
Oh, see, no, because I know where all the bodies are buried. I'm not. You ain't slick. I probably the question that I am asking myself now, just in life, what's next? And that's something that I'm trying to figure out, because I'm not a celebrity or anything. I'm not rich. but I have found success with my acting career. And now I've moved into writing and producing. And although I don't want to abandon any of that, I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's not interesting for me to do that. So I'm like, okay, well, what's next? How do I keep this industry and being a creative in this industry where there's actually very little creativity from day to day? Auditions aren't really creative. You go and work, doing somebody else's, like, unless it's a big meaty role you can sink into, it's not that creative. So how can I keep things interesting for myself? So that's where I am right now. So I don't really know what's next, but I'm figuring that part out.
I love it. I love it. Well, I hope that Diversity Be Like is around for a long, long time and that you can come back and tell us what's next. I also have ideas for other things because I also always have 50 million ideas. So I have some other conversations that I definitely would love to have with you. So, and just as a friend, I look forward to hearing what's next. So tell us, where can people reach you? Where can they learn more about Sister President? How can we support?
Sister President, you can go to sisterpresident.com and you'll be able to watch the entire first season there. It's on YouTube, so there's a link there. I am on all social media at Nicole J Butler, NicoleJ Butler.
Except for Clubhouse, where she's Nicole J Butler LA.
And you know what? I hate that. Like, it's just not hard to understand it. So when they approve me as Nicole J Butler, I'm Nicole J Butler. Anyway, and watch and share. Watch, leave a comment, and share Sister President. I'm figuring out what to do with it next. It's on the festival circuit now. And I've gotten a few offers from streaming networks, not the big ones.
Hey, but still
that are viable. And so I'm now figuring out where it's going to live.
Gotcha. Oh, so you don't need any money. I thought you needed some money. I was going to tell the people to send you some money, but she said she didn't need any. So
I need some money for the next one. I'm now working on. I have the outline for season 2 of Sister President, and then I have a new project that came to me in a dream.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I definitely need to get back so I could be involved, because I felt it was weird not being involved because I'm not there. And it's like I'm seeing all my friends and I'm like, I would be somewhere.
Yeah, you would. So Cash App is $ Nicole J Butler. I'm not hard to find.
I love it. I love it. So definitely everybody go watch Sister President. You can see it at sisterpresident.com. And when you see it and when you love it, send her some Cash App money to $ Nicole J Butler. I am excited about that. I'm excited about season 2. I'm excited about everything that's next for you. I'm super I know it's going to be amazing. So Nicole, thank you so much for joining me today. And most importantly, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh,
so everybody, thanks for listening. You can add any comments or thoughts or anything that you have, any questions that you have for me or Nicole on social media. All of the social media platforms are at Diversity Be Like. You can email us at podcast@mochastock.com, podcast@mocha stock.com. Happy to answer any questions y'all have. And, if there are enough, we can bring Miss Butler back for part 2. So thank y'all and be well.